Hello guys, welcome back. In this Jetpack Compose tutorial, we're going to learn about tab layout that uses a view pager to display dynamic data and adding a functionality of swiping to different tabs by default using a view pager. So without further ado, let's get started. So now, before we start, if we want to use a view pager in Jetpack Compose, we have to use the library by Google, which can be found in a link provided in the description box below. So if you go here to build.gradle, you can find that this implementation here accompanies page app. So now let's create here a new file so that we can display our composables. So we are going to call this tab screens. And inside here now, we can try to create our composables, which we can use there. So now let's create here a new composable, which we are going to display all of our tabs. So we are going to call this tab home. And now, in order to display tabs, we know that they are going to be displayed in a row format. So there is a built-in function which you can try and use it. And this one is called tab row. Or you could try and create your own. But as you can see here now, we have to pass in the selected index. And if you press here Ctrl Q, there are a bunch of parameters which you can pass in: the modifier, background color, content color, and the indicator. But for now, we are just going to leave this as is. But later in this video, we're going to create a custom indicator which you can try and utilize it inside here, the tab row. So for now, let's create here a parameter, a selected tab index, which we are going to define inside the main activity and pass it as a state, and we're going to pass in here the selected tab index. Now, we have to create here tab pages, which can be displayed inside this row. You could try to create one by one, or you could create a list. So for our case here, we're going to create an enum class that is going to hold up our tab pages. So we're going to call this tab page, and this tab page requires us to pass in the icon. So we're going to create here a variable, which is called of type image vector. And now inside here, we can define our tabs. So first, for example, here we're going to define home, and we are going to use the icons and pass in here So now we have created here a list of 3 tabs, which we're going to use inside here tab row and define them. So we're going to use this tab page, and we're going to convert this to a list so that we can use the for each index. Now we have here the index and the tab page, which you can try to use. So there is a function which you can use the tab. And as you can see here, there are 2 types of these functions. There is this tab, and they're different. The first one, this one, has no understanding about the content and the color. And the second one here, we can try and pass in the selected color and the unselected color. Also can pass in the text icon and other parameters. So let's use the second one here. And it has 2 parameters which we can try and pass in here, the selected. So if this tab is going to be selected, it wants to understand this so that it can compute animations and do other things. So we are going to compare between the selected tab index and the index, which we have get inside here. So if this is going to be equal to the selected tab index, that it's going to be true. And now inside here, we have to reinitialize here the selected tab index. So we're going to pass in here so we have to pass in here the unselected tab, and we're going to pass in the tab page which has been passed. Right now here we have passed in the selected and the on click. We can try and pass in here the text. So we are going to use this tab page, and we're going to use the name of this tab page. We can also pass an icon here, and we can use icons composable. So now we are good to go and try to use this inside the main activity here. Let's jump in here inside the main activity. So for now here, we can create a scaffold that is going to hold up our tabs. And now inside here, we can pass in the top bar, and we can call here the home tab. Now we have to create the state that is going to hold up the selected index, and we can reinitialize here. So we're going to create here another variable. So now here we have our tab page, and we want to start from the home composable. So we are going here to pass in the tab page, and we are going to use this ordinal here to pass in the index. And now inside here, we can try and initialize this. So now we have reinitialized this tab page inside here. So now we can pass in here our content. For example, here we can create a column. So for now, let's try and run our application and see the output. So now our app is launched, and as you can see here, it just displayed Hello Home. And if we press in these different tabs, it's going to display different messages. So for now here, as you can see, the selected tab is not that much vivid and different from other tabs. So we can try to customize this and display our own colors so that when a tab is being selected, it can be shown really easily. So if we come here to our tab screens, and we can pass in the selected color. And inside here, the unselected color, we can try to use the material theme and use the on surface. So now let's try and rerun again our application and see. So now the app is launched again, and as you can see here now, it is much more vivid when the tab is being selected. So as you can see here, we are using the default indicator. So what if we want to create our custom indicator? So we want to display here a box around these tabs when they are being selected. So let's do this right now. So now let's create here a custom indicator, and we're going to create here composable, and we're going to call this tab indicator. So in order to create here tab indicator, we're going to use a box. And if you navigate here down to this tab row and press Ctrl Q, you can see that we're inside this indicator, it's going to return a list of tab positions. So we can use this just to calculate and position our box inside the tabs correctly. So we can create here now a box. So we have to fill the match size first. Then we are going to wrap the content size here, and we are going to align this to the bottom stat. And also we want to offset. So we want to move this box when the cap has been selected here. We want to move this to another position. So we have to use those parameters, the cap positions. So, and this one is going to be a list of these tab positions. And also we have to pass in the index, the selected index. So we are going to first create here a value of width. Then we're going to use these tab positions in order to get the width of the tab. And then here we can pass in the index. And here we can get the width. And also we want to offset this to move to the x-axis. So we are going to use here left, so that we can get the left axis. And now inside here, we can pass in the X, and we can pass in the offset X. Now, after that, we also have to provide the width, and we can use the width parameter, which we have specified here. And we can add a little bit of padding. And we can fill the max size again, and also we can pass in the border, so that it can draw a border around here. So we are going to use a border stroke. And now we can try and use this tab indicator inside here, the tab row, the indicator. and we can pass in each here, and also we can pass in the selected index. So now let's try and rerun our application and see the output. So now our app is launched, and as you can see here, we have created now a box. So if we click here now, we can see that we are going to navigate to these other places, and also it can create this animation. As you can see here now, we are moving without any animation, and we can try to customize this and provide a simple animation so that it can be really good. So let's jump inside here and see how we can do this. So now, in order to animate this, we are going to create here another variable, and we are going to call this transition. And we're going to use the update transition. And so we want to target here the index, and we can try to add here a label for this transition. So for now here, now we can try and create here another variables. For example, here we can create the left indicator. We can pass in here, for example, tab position. So now we are getting here the tab position. We're going to get here. This is going to return a DP, and we want to animate this DP. And inside here now also we have the transition specification, which we could try and provide inside here. So for example, here we can use a spring animation, and we could try here the stiffness. Copy this and paste it here. And this one we're going to call this right indicator. So here we're going to change this to right, and this one we are going to make it medium. So now we can change here the width and use the right indicator, and we could minus with the left indicator so that we can get the width here, and so that the animation can occur. And also here we're going to use the left indicator instead of using this offset X. So we are going to delete this because we are not going to use them anymore. So now the app is launched, and let's press here to favorite. As you can see here now, it's just moving really good. And you can try to use any type of animation which you want. So right now here, as you can see in this hello messages, if we try to stop here, we are not going to navigate to any other tabs. So we want to implement the view pager so that it can help us that when we click this or we swipe here, we can navigate to another tab. So let's do this right now here. So now, in order to use the view pager, we have to get a state. So there is a built-in state that we can get from the components library. So we are going to create here state, and then we are going to call this pager state. And this pager state here, we are going to call the remember pager state. Remember pager state. As you can see here, there is a parameter we have to page the pager count. And if you press here Control Q, you can see that there are a bunch of parameters which you can try to pass inside this remember pager state. As you can see here, the page count, this is going to represent the number of pages which we have. So for our case, we have 3 pages, and there is another parameter here, which is the initial page. So which page do you want to start with? So, and here it is going to select for the current pages by default. And also we have the initial page offset. So if you want to provide effects or animate, you can use this initial page offset in order to animate these pages as in previous pages which we used. Also, there is initial offset screen limit. So this one is going to define the amount of screens that are going to be rendered on the left and right of the current page. So if you define a number greater than 1, so if you define 5, they are going to be rendered 5 screens in a left and right. So I think you have to consider also the amount of memory. So don't go beyond 2 or 3 pages per screen. And also here we have the infinite loop. So whether to support the infinite looping effect. So if you want that a user will scrolls to the last page. So if you want just the user can scroll by 1 swipe to go to the last page, you can just make this true. So we are going to leave this by default, as we are going just to provide here the number of pages which are required. So we are going to use the tab pages which we have created. Tab pages, and we're going to convert these to values, and we want to get the size of these tab pages inside here. And as you can see here now, this is just the tuning experimento. So we have to add this experimento so that you can take away that error. So right now here, we can use the page state. And in order to use this page state, also we have to use a scope. We're going to use a scope. We want to use to get a correcting scope. So we are going to use a remember correcting scope so that we can use this to animate and scroll to other pages. So right now here also we have to change this and make the modifier here fill the max size. And now we can cut this and call the horizontal page. So here we can swipe horizontally, and this requires a state, so we can pass in the page state. And now, right now here, we can pass in our composables inside here. And now we have to create a reference for this, so we are going to call this index. Now, also here we are having two source of truth, so we are going to remove this so that we just have one source of truth. And in order to do that, we are going to now use this page state. So we want to get the selected index, so we are going to use the page state, and we can use the current page. And right now here also, we can try to scroll. We can use that scope, the scope which you have defined there, in order to animate to scroll to a different position when a user is going to click this. So we're going to call here launch, and for now here, we can use the page state. And inside here now, we can define because we have here the tab page, we can use the ordinal value, and we can now navigate to that screen when a user clicks a tab. And here by default, it's going to animate this to a different page. And as you have seen now, because we have got rid of that tab page, we don't get their values. So now here we can use just the tab pages. So now we have a name. So far we have been using just this one composable. So what if you want to display different screens? So let's create here another screen. And here we're just going to use a surface. And this surface, we pass in the modifier. So now we have created here a screen. So in order to do that, you can use this index here and use a when statement to define different screens which you wish. So for example, here we can use this when, but with a different name. So right now here, this is all of it which we want to use in order to use this horizontal page. And there are no adapters and other things which you are required to create. So let's try and run our application and see the output. So now the app is launched. Let's try here and swipe here if we can navigate to this favorite. And also if we click here now, also again, we can navigate to these other pages. So for now, let's leave it here. See you in the next video.